Guten Abend. This is my project. This is my master of hardcore mosh slut. Yes. So I have. This is my final version of this song. It's done. It's finished. Finito, as the Welsh say. I've got my master strip here with all the plugins that I've used to master it. I've got the Magma Stress box, got some just regular channel EQ, I've got some tube EQ, then I've got that Fresh Air plugin again, I've got a limiter, and then I've got that BX Master Desk from Plugin Alliance. So, the Magma Stress box, I've used the compression tool at 1.52. This is to just sort of glue the mix together a little bit, similar to how you'd use a opto compressor, except obviously this one it's got less settings really, but it's a one dial does all. But yeah, I just wanted to glue the mix together. I want it to sound big and just less dynamic between the instruments. I wanted it all to sound like it fits neatly together. I used some channel EQ just to get rid of a little bit of the 5.6K range, because it was just a bit too bright and harsh. It almost had like a kind of like a fly buzzing sound almost in the really high end. So I just took a little bit of it away, just 1.7 dB of it, just because it was a little bit too much. So I just took that away there, and I think it was a good shout to do that. I then got some tube EQ, and I used this purely for attenuation of the highs. So I've got my high attenuation here. I'm attenuating the 16K frequency here, and I've got the attenuation set to 2.7. It just took away that high-end bright harshness again. I did dip the 7K frequency by 1.3 as well, just because I noticed it sounded a little bit better off from it that way, just whilst I was playing around with it. And I think this tube EQ has helped a lot. I have got the Fresh Air here as well, which I know it sounds counterintuitive because I just talked about taking away from the high end. Now I'm adding high end back in. But I did really like its inclusion. I didn't think I'd actually end up using it properly, but I think it sounded really quite nice. So I've added 26 to the mid-air presence, which is the high mid-range. Then the high-end sparkle, I've just added 10 to that. It didn't need a lot, just a little bit. I did get Tutor Jordan's input, and he said he quite liked the inclusion of this. So that was some good feedback that I got, that he A-B'd it with and without it, and he said he liked it being used on this. So that reassured me using it as well, even though he did say that the high end just needs to be attenuated a bit, which is why I did this tube EQ as well as the channel EQ. I have put a limiter on it as well. The reason I put a limiter after all these plugins here, where they're reducing and adding frequencies, or sorry, the volume of frequencies, is because if I was to put a limiter behind them and then I was to add or reduce frequencies, it may not be at quite 0 dB, which is not really what you want from a master, because anything that's above 0 dB is going to be distorting, so naturally that's undesirable. So I put the limiter after these. I know this for sure as well, because I in fact started with the limiter right at the beginning. So it was the first plugin I put on was a limiter, just to make it sound loud. But yeah, I noticed that this was I think it was going up to 2.5 decibels at some times. I was like, that's way too much, and that's not what you want from a master. So I put the effects behind it. And then lastly, I've got the master desk here, and I tend to get on really well with mastering using this tool, but it was a bit more of a struggle this time, to be honest. Maybe it's just because of the type of harsh music that I'm doing this time compared to my other uses of it before, that it's just become a bit more out of the comfort zone a little bit. But I didn't enjoy too much stereo enhancement. I thought it detracted from the song and made the guitars sound quite weak. But I did use some nonetheless. I used 20% of it, which was enough for me. I think the song already sounds quite wide, so adding any more to that is just destructive. I did add 23% onto the tone. That's just sort of more higher end leaning the frequency spectrum. Because if I was to put it all the way down to the left hand side anti-clockwise, it would sound really dark, whereas if I put it all the way to the right clockwise, it sounds really bright. And I didn't want an extreme of either of those, because you wouldn't want that when mastering. But I chose 23% because that was a nice middle ground, I felt. I have put the foundation up, which is the darker frequencies of the master, or the mix, sorry. I just put it up from 12 o'clock to here, because I didn't want to add too much, because it sounds too much if I went further than that. But I thought this was quite nice. I did originally have this all the way up here, and then I tried it all the way down there, and I just thought it sounded better here, to be honest. So I just left it alone, because I didn't really like using it, to be honest. I did change the compressor to soft. It's hard to really tell a difference, but between soft and hard, I thought soft made more sense, and I thought it sounded a bit better, although it was a bit hard to tell. It just seemed to make sense for me when in the master. I thought hard compressor would be too much, but the soft compressor I think works nicely. Now, I did have this track here as well. This one here, this is the final master, but this one was my first attempt, and I really didn't like it. And this was an older version of the mix I'd made before this one. So, whilst mastering it, I noticed there were elements of the mix in the master that I wanted to fix and didn't sound right to me. I thought the kick sounded too quiet. I thought the guitars were way too loud. I didn't like it. So I went back to the drawing board, did a couple tweaks to the mix, the pre-master mix, and then I did this one. I will show the difference between them. It's going to be hard to tell on here because it's coming out of speakers and through a MacBook mic, but oh well, you might be able to tell. But yeah, this one I just really didn't like, and I knew I wouldn't be happy to call that the master. Hashtag Doctor Who reference. But yeah, I have used the Magma Stress Box here, the Fresh Air, the limiter, and the master desk. God damn, that is a lot of tone. So much tone in that. God, holy crap. Yeah, I'll show the old version first. Yeah, I don't know if you can really tell much of a difference, but I can tell the difference. And that one I don't like. So I remixed it and copied this track and used a lot of the similar settings, but added more. But yes, this is my master. And as you can see, if I turn down the volume, it's at 0, which is how it should be. Even these louder bits here, there's 0. Oh, there's a -2 a second ago, but it's now 0. Good. That's how it should be. But yes, bye. I've pushed the wrong button.